Very interesting session on managing solar panels end of life as per CPCB regulations. Solar has been part and parcel of the Indian economy. Now, all this while the government has been talking about renewable energy, and solar has majorly played a very, very big role. We've had installations by the biggest of the companies, and there are a lot of newcomers which are part of the solar industry who've been impaneling and have, uh, you know, most of the country has solar panels. But what do you do with those solar panels? Because there's a life attached to it. So after a certain lifespan of those solar panels is over, there is something to be done with that. Do we just throw them and keep on increasing the e-waste, or do we do something with that whereby we can make more money out of it and there could be more output of solar and energy? So this session will particularly discuss about all these things and what kind of revenue you can make out of it, what kind of profit possibilities are there, how the government is supporting about it, and how you can venture into this kind of business. So I invite for this Mr. Jaideep Malaviya, Managing Director, Malaviya Solar Energy Consultancy, and Board Director of International Solar Energy Society, to come and present this session. Mr. Malaviya, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, I can see there are a few people at the back. You can come forward. That's fine. We are not in a classroom. So, no punishments, nothing are going to happen for you all. Though, this is a very crucial topic, very important topic. Let's understand about what to do when these solar panels or the modules, as we say, the cells, when they will come to the end of their life. And we'll try to understand right now how we are going to manage, because that's the key, isn't it? Everything has a life, including a human. Nobody can live for eternity. So there has to be some means to manage them. So let's understand without taking much of the time, and I have to just manage, I'm told. So solar PV modules and cells, now they are part of the e-waste rules. Right? I'll try to keep my presentation. There is a clock at the back, so does that mean I have to speak for 1 hour? That's too long, I think, what I've prepared from the organizers, if I understand. But anyways, we'll have more of interactive session on this. And it will be my pleasure also to answer your question to my best, because this is yet an emerging field. So even I am, as a student, learning this. Can have if possible, a column mic if you have, otherwise that's fine. And in the meantime, may I ask the audience if you all can occupy the front seats, because then it will make it easier for us to interact and understand this. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay, am I audible? Right? Everybody? It's always challenging, when you are the speaker before the lunch session. Because, well, you see, I was in one of the a social event I was addressing. I'm a Rotarian, by the way, so I was addressing, Rotary Club. And they are usually, they come with the families at times. And there was this young person that kept on coming to me, and he kept on coming to me and asking that, Uncle, how long is your presentation? How long is your presentation? So I was a bit curious. Why is he asking this frequently? And then, he spoke in Hindi. I'll tell, Uncle, और कितना बोलोगे आप? और कितना बताओगे? और क्या-क्या बताओगे? So I was a bit curious that, this young boy, why is he so interested in my talk, my presentation and all, finally. And then finally I asked him that, what makes you so inquisitive? What is it that you are so excited to learn what I am presenting, how much I am presenting, when is it I am going to complete, and what I am going to present? So he said, no, uncle, my father told me that after your presentation is the lunch time. So I am more interested in that. That's why I just wanted to know. I said, okay, fine. So the same thing happens here. Anyway, thank you, Informa Markets, for this opportunity. This is my third instance with them. I'm honored. I'll very briefly introduce, because I have not come for my sales pitch. I'm Jaideep Malaviya. I have my own consulting company. I am also the founder of another part of a solar thermal technology, which is most today, I would say, ignored or neglected, which is the solar thermal. So I'm the founder and the Secretary General of Solar Thermal Federation of India, which is more to do with the heating. And I got elected last year as a director on the board of International Solar Energy Society. A matter of pride, I owe this to my countrymen for having me elected for this. I thank them. So that's it. I'll give as an introduction. I'm celebrating my 26th year in the solar energy industry. So I won't read my CV, but I'm sustaining as much as possible, and I had a vision. And now, going through all my experiences in this subject, I always had a desire to look ahead 10 years, right? So when, I started even in the solar energy industry, I am an engineer from Bengaluru. I had done my software project, but people said that, you're one of those few fools we have seen, because IT industry, was a booming. And they said, what makes you take solar energy? So one has to be looking ahead always, 10 years, 25 years down the line. Then only can you be planning. You cannot, dig the well when you are thirsty. You have to see to it that you are self-sufficient with it. So today we will understand about the solar PV modules, or the panels, as you may say, and cells. Someday they have to come to the end of life, right? We will avoid using the word waste, although now they are made part of the e-waste. What does e-waste stand for? Any idea? The electronic waste, right? I was a part of the task force committee set up by the government on the policy issues. There were 3 committees. One of them was the policy, where I was a part of the team member. Fortunately, most of our recommendations were taken. So we'll see now how we'll use the word end of life, right, rather than the waste. Now, just for your knowledge, this is the achievement of India and the target set by the government. You all know, many of you may be knowing. We are chasing a target of about 350,000 megawatt, 350,000 megawatt, or 350 gigawatt peak. That's the right unit used in the solar energy industry terminology. It's one of the most ambitious target. India is the second fastest growing market in the world. When it comes to the recycling, or the management of the end of the life, the terminology most spoken is the kgs or the tons, not the watt peaks. All right, so we'll see. So 350 gigawatt peak is the target we are chasing. 350 gigawatt. Imagine the amount of raw materials that we will be requiring and that will have to be treated. Why they will have to be treated? Let's understand. Now, India is by and large almost 99% a crystalline silicon market. Very rarely are the thin films used. So I won't come in way of the slide. You can see this is roughly the breakup for a typical 1000 kg PV module. Now the weight may vary depending on your size. So as I said, here in the end of life management will talk the terminology of the weight, the kg. 70% by weight or up to 75% is glass. It's the highest component. Followed by about 18% is your aluminum, whether it's in the frame or they are also used to a certain extent in your solar cells. You can see aluminum internal conductors, they are used. Copper connector, right? Copper you use say up to 1% to even up to 2.2% internal conductors also. So when we talk of solar modules, it is including your back contact, right? Your connectors and the cable. Also the cable till which it comes. So all this will form a part of it. This is what I clarified. We don't take the inverter and battery into account because they have their own e-waste rules or rather their own waste rules. So they won't come into picture, right? So this is roughly the breakup if you see. The third highest component is the various polymer based sheets, whether they are the ethyl vinyl acetate, EVA sheet, or the back sheet based on polyvinyl fluoride or whatever, it could be PET. Then comes your silicon metal cell, which is about 3.56%. And then there are smaller metals, tin, lead, right? And what's the most attractive of all this, in your opinion? Silver. Wow. Isn't it? A precious element. So should we, the question is, when these panels will come to the end of their life, should we allow them to be landfilled? No. We can extract, isn't it? No rocket science. There's nothing in this. Everything can be brought out. The challenges are there. Probably much of it can be used back in the solar energy industry. Of course, glass will be a challenge right now. The biggest challenge are the polymer materials. You cannot convert them back into the same. You can repurpose it or upcycle it for some other purpose. So, looking at this, why not recycle them and repurpose them? Correct? Plenty of employment opportunities, plenty of startups to come up, the entrepreneurs, we have everything here. So colossal raw material requirement would be there for this 350 gigawatt. Look at this. How much glass will require? How many tons? You can count the number of the figures. Roughly, how much? About 13 million tons. Correct? You have 1 crore 28 lakh tons, followed by the rest. I won't read out through it. So we have plenty of raw material requirement which can be reused back. Now, the current recovery rate, like the European Union which has the policy currently, we have extracted out of that these figures where the recovery percentage is anywhere between 0% to 100%. 0 meaning the backsheet layers, they cannot be recovered back into the same. You can convert, as I said, into pyrolysis as a diesel or a fuel. The rest of it is anywhere between 90% to 95%. So good opportunities. What happens to the recycled material? If you see glass which contains the antimony, right? So as a law, definitely this glass cannot be landfilled. You cannot. Where it can be used? Primary white glass, packaging material, fiber insulation material. Aluminium frame, back to aluminium, 100%. Same aluminium can be used to make the new frames for the solar panel. Primary copper, again copper connectors. Polymer based adhesive, the polymer materials, as I said, into either you'll have to incinerate as a diesel or a fuel, or use it for a secondary raw material like plastic tires, or as material for the road construction. You can use it. The silicon metal cell, again for the metal grade silicon, Mg silicon, which has to be further purified into solar cells. Silver, again back to primary, metals back to primary, and then the polymer casing, as I said. So every component can find some use when you upcycle them or repurpose. Now let's understand the difference between a recycling. All this is actually termed as a circular economy. What is circular economy? What's a linear? Linear in simple terms, you take it and you just send it into your bin as a landfill waste, whatever you may say. A recycling economy is you take, make, reuse, recycle to a certain extent, again use it finally, but sometimes it will go as a waste. So for example, why there's a ban on plastic bag? The higher density plastic gets recycled back into a lower plastic bag, into further, and then eventually someday it goes as a waste, as a landfill, to be allowed as a degradation. Correct? Our clothes or whatever you may say, all these go into landfill someday. The circular economy, the actual definition or a simple definition is, you just reuse it infinite times, repurpose it, then you are justifying your environment. Otherwise, we are polluting. If everything goes into the landfill, if you have to remake everything, imagine you'll have to start mining, produce it, the entire eco audit if we do, it will start using energy. So in actual terms, what the circular economy states, we don't put anything in the bin. Everything is recycled. So 1st April 2023 onwards, it's a matter of pride, and I highly compliment the Government of India for coming out with the solar panel e-waste guidelines. Of course, wafers are not part of it, so please excuse on that. So that's the gazette, the official gazette release. So henceforth, your 1st April will no more be Fool's Day. If you don't recycle, you will fool yourself. So please remember, 1st April onwards, the e-waste guidelines have solar panels and cells in them. Now, briefly I'll tell you what it states, that you don't have to really worry about recycling as of now. You can keep the waste, not the waste, but the end-of-life panels and the cells, stack it, store it until the year 2033. The window is given by the Central Pollution Control Board, hoping that till that time, the solutions would emerge to safely recycle. Perhaps, in fact, we are already observing that the recycling, the startups, the e-waste recyclers have already started working on it. And they are so excited, in fact, some of them have even claimed we can now recycle solar panels. Very much I am happy, but it's challenging and you'll need to go through several processes. Now, there is something called as the extended producer responsibility, meaning who will take care of the solar panels and cells at the end of the life? It's the producer. The definition of a producer is one who's a manufacturer or one who is branding as an OEM or an importer. We are importing a lot of panels, right? So the one who's importing is responsible, not the one who's manufacturing beyond the borders, not they. Or trading as a second hand. If you're buying from some other country a panel or a cell, it is your responsibility. So all these four fall under the producer. What's EPR? Responsibility of any producer as per Schedule 1 of the e-waste rules. You can download the e-waste rules, right? For meeting recycling targets as per Schedule 3 and Schedule 4 only through registered recyclers. As of now, the targets are yet not specified. So there are no targets for solar panels as of now. But that doesn't mean there will be no targets. The guidelines will soon come. Only the rules have been laid. Please understand. The guidelines will shortly be laid. So they will specify the targets out of it. Recyclers will generate EPR certificates. So the producers will have to get these certificates from the registered recyclers or the or maybe through the producer responsibility organizations for the actual volume recovered. Now understand, if I have 100 tons of solar panels which have attained end of life, you won't probably get certificates for 100 tons provided you recover back 100 tons. You'll only get certificates for the volume that is recovered. So recovery may be 80%, 85%, 90%, maybe 95%, whatever it is. That will be specified. So these guidelines will come up shortly. But what it is said is, it will be on the basis of the recovery, not on the basis of what you have accumulated. Now, there is a draft that the Central Pollution Control Board has put up. Life of the solar panels as 15 years. They have just put it as a draft, 15 years. But don't get panicked and don't challenge now. In fact, it may become true. I'm not denying. Now, what the Schedule 3 states, supposing, though right now, as I said, e-waste recycling targets not specified, but if 15 years is specified, if you see the calculation, 60% of the quantity in the first year. Then gradually it's increased to 80%. Now your glass itself is 70%, so you can't make it 60%. You can't cut the glass and eliminate some of it. So that's why we have put what percentage of solar panel cells and should be recycled. That's the big question. Should it be 60%, 75%, 90%, 100%? You may take a call. It should be 100%. Why allow every metal, every component can be recycled? Well, there could be a possibility that, my panel life or my module life is much higher than 15 years. Can we then reuse that at some other purpose or refurbish? To refurbish, you will have to again register, but there is something called as right to repair portal, which is a good thing. So if you are able to repair, now ideally solar panels cannot be repaired, but you can refurbish. You will have to get a license. You can do it, right? So there is a right to repair. But these guidelines will specify, as of now, we are yet to know. Now, the most important thing, what are the immediate actions? Manufacturers, importers, brand owners, or as I said, branding, OEM, imported modules, all these will have to register as EPR on the Central Pollution Control Board website. That's the site. Domestic refurbishers, mind you, domestic refurbishers will require a separate registration. If you are an imported refurbisher, then you fall in the first category of EPR. 25% relaxation on target on refurbishing. Okay, once you are refurbishing, then your targets will be relaxed by 25%. Maintain quarterly and annual records. Do not landfill or dispose or face penalty. Don't dispose in unorganized sector. You may face penalty. Scrap panels and cells to be stacked until the year 2033-34. So, relax and not to get panicked and worried. I'll come to it why we should not be really worried. I could see some of the manufacturers were really kind of pushing a panic button. Why suddenly they have subject us to recycling? This is not our forte. They say once we have sold the panels, it is no more our property. So why should we take care of it? Why the government has imposed? But this is a global phenomenon of EPR. Everybody offers uses a battery, right? Whether it's a car or a two-wheeler or your inverter. What do we do once the battery is dead? We give it back to whosoever has supplied, isn't it? He takes back. Now that's what is EPR. So one who has supplied you the panels or the modules, it is their responsibility to take it back and safely dispose. So dispose means recycle. Do not export scrap unlawfully. Now there could be instances that you may say, oh, let me escape the route of recycling. Let me sell these panels as second hand in some other third world countries or wherever it is for rural application, whatever it may be. All the ports have been informed to keep a track on this, who are exporting panels. And if you do so, you will have to inform the CPCB, upload this data as well. So there is no escape route. To safeguard business, build in please cost of recycling now. It's very important. So that you can, when you take back, you don't feel the pinch in your balance sheets. Otherwise today, it becomes kind of like, a burden to you. It's a financial burden to recycle them. So please, as I said, if I is replaced with we, right now the scenario has become, is it like an illness? No. It's a wellness. Isn't it? Aren't we recovering all the metals back? We are recovering. It is our moral responsibility to protect our environment by reusing back them. So let's not talk of illness, let's do wellness. Let not be I, let us all be we. And we can do it. I'll come to that. The question is, how green is really green energy? Mining waste instead of earth addresses climate change. Recycling of glass and aluminium saves up to 75% energy. So when we do an eco audit of a life cycle of any product, anything you take in your day-to-day life, right in the morning from your toothbrush, from a brush, how much has been the carbon footprint done? Your garments, they create, the highest carbon footprint. The amount of water that is used, the energy for dyeing, processing, everything we all are responsible. So, recycling of glass, aluminium saves energy. Today, saving energy is the prime. Recovered material can repower. Okay, instead of landfilling, create employment opportunities. We can repower using the same. Again, I use illness and wellness. Okay, we can use it again. Let's create employment opportunities. We need to have jobs, isn't it? So let's encourage recycling. And all this is termed for the companies as the environmental, social, and governance. Many companies are having now ESG departments. So as a part of ESG, commence recycling not as a law, but as a moral responsibility to reuse the extract materials. Something called as the responsible recycling. There is an R2 certification also generated. Let's preach it or practice it. The best part is, by recycling, we'll make ourselves Atmanirbhar. See, as a country, Today, we have almost about 80% imported modules. Almost. We can repurpose back this into making new panels, these modules. Isn't a country going Atmanirbhar? Why again stretch our hands to a neighboring country? We will create a resource of the raw materials. So current recovery rate is, as I said, between 85% to 100%. Glass, aluminum, silver, copper, everything can be done. Do it now, sometimes later becomes never. फिर तो कभी देखेंगे करेंगे, no. Let's not have that attitude. Okay, do it sometime, we should be. Let's make ourselves proud. You know, there was recently in the news, you all know, India has become world's most populated country, isn't it? Now, here we are in a country where, you know, you all must have experienced, sorry, I don't mean to take the other way. हमारे यहाँ तो पत्नी पत्नियों की तो बनती ही नहीं है, तब जाके तो हम हाईएस्ट ये पॉपुलेटेड कंट्री हो गए. बनती तो क्या होता, सोचो अगर. So don't take it the other way, but do it. Sometimes later becomes never, right? Now, there are certain things still that need to be addressed. Correct? Questions to be asked. Life of PV modules. Should it be 15 years, 20 years, 25 years? So that we'll have as a part of the guidelines. The conversion factor for EPR certificate, how much they will be coming. There's a formula put up on the CPCB e-waste guidelines. You can go through that. So the conversion factor, what it should be, it means what percentage will be extracted, what do they anticipate. Definition of historic waste, there is something called as historic waste, they have said. Meaning as on 1st April, all the historic waste will also have to be treated. Meaning it will have to be accumulated and then treated. Up till 2033-34, it will have to be kept. So what is the definition? Where to stack the scrap? See, in another 10 years, we'll have so much amount of these end of life, the scrap or the waste, if you want to say, lying with us. Where to keep it? Now, of course, there is a provision that the state governments, union territories have to make provision for stacking of these. Are cables part of PV panels? When I asked them, they said yes. But there are separate guidelines for the cables and wires, for inverters, for batteries, so we don't know. But they say if it's an integral part of the panel supplied with it, it becomes part of it. Now, where do orphan panels go? You understand orphan panels? Anybody would like to take a guess? Well, an orphan panel means the manufacturer may have made the panels or you may have imported, but after few years they are no more in picture. And when the panels have come to the end of the life, who takes them back? So perhaps the supplier or the manufacturer itself has attained the end of the life for their business. Okay, so we have to ask, they still, but then they cannot be landfilled. So these will be the questions. Will the manufacturer's body get representation in the steering committee? Now they have already decided that a steering committee will be formed. Unfortunately, you know, there is not a mention of the representation from the PV industry in that. There is a e-waste body, there are government departments. Of course, there is Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. So the manufacturers have to decide whether you want to take it to them, to the MNRE, or you want to have your own one industry voice to be echoed. Because in my opinion, that will be more powerful, more pronounced. Why no dedicated funding for domestic R&D government is giving? So what we are understanding now, a lot of European and American startups are looking to invest in India for recycling of these. We have the knowledge power in our country. We have the startups who have the capability to come out. Why not have them? Why not encourage them? So instead of having a very common R&D budget, they could have perhaps invited an R&D specifically for developing indigenous, that is Atmanirbhar R&D solution. Would have been much appreciable. The second thing what really I found a little strange. See, a definition of an electronic waste are your consumer products like your laptops, of course computers, refrigerators, your electronic gadgets. A solar panel somehow doesn't fit in this. It's an industrial product. So it would have been much better had there been a renewable waste instead of electronic waste. Instead of e-waste, it should have been R-waste. In fact, you can cover a multiple of renewable energy technologies, your wind turbine blades. Of course, your wind and solar are the major sources today. So they could have become, they are considering seriously on this, what I'm told now. That sooner or later, probably it may have its own guideline of waste. It may not be waste, but I'm not sure. As of now, it's e-waste. So that's the question. Finally, a national producers body dedicated to end-of-life management can collectively address common issues and help achieve circular economy goals. If you all agree, let there be, a common voice. We have so many manufacturers today. Everybody may start giving their opinion or have their questions. So let's have a national producers body to manage this. It is proposed. Thank you very much. I end my presentation. There's one icon on the left. What does this tell us about in between? Swastik, right? We all, at least those who are in the Hindu mythology, we believe in this. Perhaps it was an inspiring to practice net zero. Please recycle. I think perhaps it was designed for that, the swastik. Let's honor it. See, I'm not trying to be a religious or I'm making a kind of a communal statement. But it inspires. So let's honor it. So thank you very much. My email address is here and I am open to any questions, any suggestions. Please, because I am also in the learning stage, as I said. No problem. No, that's okay.
Check. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to have Mr. Malaviya, and indeed a pleasure when he talks about circular economy. So, as I was talking before the beginning of the session, that we need to take care of the planet Earth, we need to take care of our e-waste. So, here's your man, his email address is right there, his telephone number is right there. Please connect with him. Talk about all your grievances related to e-waste and circular economy only. We would like to present a token from our side to Mr. Malaviya and would request you to please join hands for him.
So if there are any questions, if anybody has, they can.
Any questions, we can pass on the mic if you would have. Anything regarding the entrepreneurship for recycling, for circular economy as of now? If anybody would have any questions.
Oh, I'm glad. At least there is one question.
Can we have the mic, please, quickly?
You see, there was one, I'll just tell, there was once a CEO was addressing to their employees. And then he said a joke. So everybody clapped except for one. And when he was asked, the CEO asked him, why you didn't clap? He said, I've just resigned today. Okay, so anyway.
So boss is not always right, is it?
Sure. No problem. No, I can't. No. Or do you want to give them this mic? I can address from there then.
Hello.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, thank you.
Now, recycling of e-waste is one thing is not viable and economical. Second thing is whatever the product that comes out will not stand to that efficiency.
So please keep your mic close to your mouth.
Hello.
Yeah.
Is recycling of e-waste is not viable
Not
because
viable.
the series of processes are involved in recycling. Second thing is the turnout of that will not be that efficient when you redesign. Third thing, unless and until we go with the reorientation in designing the photovoltaic modules or these modules, there cannot be a better output. The other thing, we have got to go for some substitution in place of aluminium.
Sir,
Aluminium
please,
cannot.
could you be close?
Hello.
Yeah.
Recycling of aluminium is also not desirable because it will cause damage to the environment. There are a lot of shortcomings in that because only recycling is only possible in fluids, not in the metals.
Okay. Okay, I take
Second
that.
thing, another thing,
Yeah.
as far as the lifespan of your EV module, this module is concerned, if it is 15 years, it is not desirable unless and until the lifespan goes to 30 years. Because anybody who invests the money in that thinks of taking out all the benefits in 4 years span. That should be profit. If it is a 15-year span, it is not desirable and not economical.
Okay.
I want your clarifications on that.
No, so that's what
Yeah.
the guidelines
And
are.
another
yet to come.
alternative, this one. We have got to go as an alternative material to silicon, which is used widely in actually our electronic panel. This photovoltaic models. And instead of going for a glass, toughened glass with 1.16 refractive index, we should go for some polymer sheets which can have a better transmission of sunlight and which can make the module economical and more effective.
So polymer, what about the end of life of polymer then? How do
That
we,
can last for more than 35 years.
and then can we dispose it in the landfill?
No, it is to be incinerated. But it does pose some problems to the environment. That is it. I would like to seek your suggestions on this.
Okay. So here, what they are trying to tell is that aluminum should not be recycled. That's what has come, right? Is aluminum not recycled at all?
From the point of environment.
Okay, so that will be a challenge.
What is used is only extruded aluminium, processed aluminium, where the density levels vary.
So what could be a solution? Where should the panels go then? If nothing of these has to be done, they should not be recycled.
In place of aluminum metal, we can go for fiberglass, this one brackets, or this one models can be more effective, cost effective, and it will be having more durability.
Okay, fiber is again, sir, a polymer product, the hydrocarbon. So all these questions will come up. Okay, your suggestions are taken. Thank you. Oh yeah, there is one lady there, she wants to ask.
Hi, this is Anasuya from Recycle. I have one question to you since you have been there in the industry since 26 years. So unlike, solar panel is coming up, but the other EPR industries are quite streamlined. And in the all the industry, so when you talk to the manufacturer, brand owner, producer, they see EPR as a pinpoint. I mean, for them, it is a additional cost. So how do you address? And I'm sure you have already raised the point that people are panicking. And I'm sure, how do you address that?
Well, that's what. As of now, there is no solution. They have to pay for it.
Right. So do you have any suggestion for them? How do they plan for it? Since they know the rule is already in place and then within 15 years.
See, now, as I mentioned, they'll start building in the cost.
Right.
Right. But we are hoping that when the guidelines come, initially the government may give some support. It is hoped. In fact, that's where it is expected probably that the industry body gives these kind of recommendations. See, government will not tell, hum aapko paisa dete. This government is against any subsidies or giving any money. But let the voice come from there. Perhaps to encourage, initially they may support and gradually they may reduce it.
Right.
So I'm sure you being one of the recyclers, you would like to see how your business would get protected if this has to be
So
implemented.
it's not about protected, as you said, it's the we all are in the part of, in the circular economy, how do we wanted to ensure that everything is going in authorized
Very
recycling
true. But
process?
yes, so see, these are the challenges that need to be debated.
Sure.
And I'm sure that in coming few years, they'll come out with economical solutions
Right.
to recycle. That will be the challenge. See, if we look again at the history of solar cells, even if you look at 10 years back or 12 years back, the cost of solar energy was so high, these same questions were used. How will the industry or how will the investor find it economical? Today it is no more a question. I'm sure that we will be able to come out with a solution.
Right.
And there are means and ways. And these days, the younger generation, the startups have become really smart. They want challenges and they'll accept it and they'll come out. So I'm sure that it won't pinch a hole in the pocket of these people. Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Any other question, please? Would you have another question? If not, yeah, we have a question.
Hello, sir. My name is Suvendu from Reliance. So, I think the solar issues, like solar as a segment, the way it is catching up and the kind of target that all the speakers have already discussed. But the quantum of waste that is going to generate, it's not a question, but also I relate it that it's going to be a Herculean task as we go forward. Recycling of the solar waste, especially the module. It's not about the end of the life, but also because of the poor standards of the installation, because of floods, because of so many different natural calamities. Lot of solar panel, we saw that in the flash floods in Rajasthan and some other areas also. Rajasthan, we never thought of having floods. And there was a lot of solar panel got washed away. So I think it's going to be a real headache. And in India, we have a habit of just like हम बोलते हैं कि हम कुआं तब खोदते हैं जब हमें प्यास लगती है. But practically, this is not going to be ignored. This is going to be a very serious concern. And I think unless we debate it at the higher level, and there should be some responsibility fixed now only, either to the reducing the carbon footprint, give the advantage to the corporate in some other way. Like we have that REC, the renewable purchase obligation, and some other kind of thing. Something we should relate it indirectly so that they also have the advantage of rather than putting the capex directly upfrontly, they would have some other mitigation through other ways, so that they should be also having that kind of advantage to reduce their operational or the future capital costs. So I think there was a submission, but very good presentation and very well all the points have been taken. Thank you.
Thank you. Your point well taken. And that's what, as I said, there will have to be one industry voice where collectively, all the issues will have to be put up. See, we all are right now in a learning stage. This has just come up as a law. It has been just 1st April onwards. So, the good thing is at least the government has realized the concern for the environment. Now, the 10-year period is given to us. I am very much sure that we will come out with the solutions on that, wherein even the kind of technologies, as he said that, the extruded aluminium or something, probably aluminium may get eliminated. They may come out, for example, glass modules are coming. You may not need aluminium. So, this gives in fact an opportunity for some kind of innovation to come in this. Right? Eventually, you will have to make your product or your module such that it makes recycling really safe and non-hazardous. Very easy. I mean, we don't need to really concern on the environmental front. So, well said, well put up. I'm glad. Thank you.
Any other questions, please?
It is a difficult task.
Sorry?
The major problem is a conversion loss from DC current to AC current. So when actually the solar panel generates DC current, through inverter it is converted to AC. So the losses which are actually getting accrued in that is about 15%, 7.5 to 15%. That's the problem to be addressed.
Right now, this platform platform is more for about end of life management. So I'm not talking on the solar panel technology. It's not fair on my part to argue or reply to you on that. Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, we have
Okay, so
questions.
the questions
Good,
are pouring
good.
and pouring. Okay, that's good. I'm glad. See, even I'm in a learning stage, so I'll be more than happy to hear your opinion. I don't know if there are any manufacturers or representatives of manufacturers here. I would have loved to address
Good
them.
afternoon, sir. Great presentation. So I am from the research field. I am currently a master's student in IIT, doing research in e-waste only and working on the solar panel aspect. So one thing that I have found is, sir, that we are all talking about the precious metals like silver and all, but there is lead also in the panels, right? So it is a critical material. Like lead poisoning can be there, anemia, so many diseases. So what is the government's focus on the critical materials? No, like we are only focusing, I am listening e-waste, precious metals, but how can we focus on critical materials like lead?
See, I'll tell you the quantum of these hazardous materials, we are talking about antimony or lead, is minuscule. I won't even say minuscule. But yes, when it comes to these volumes, it's a concern, and that's the reason why they said that it cannot be landfilled, it will leach. So, government cannot say don't use lead. We are not telling that. That's not the answer. The answer is how we can upcycle or repurpose it. Your batteries use so much amount of lead. That doesn't mean you don't use lead acid batteries. But then they are being converted back. They are being reused. And that's the reason why they have come out. That the solder paste has lead. You know, your back sheets have fluorine. Some of them. Some of them don't have. Some of the glass has antimony, or many claim there is no antimony. Or your back sheets, which are, as a matter of fact, are polymer. So all these components in every form, there is some kind of a toxicity. And the challenge is how we overcome them. That is going to be our long-term challenge. But as of now, whatever that 65 gigawatt or 70 gigawatt we have today, we have to be concerned that how we will recycle this safely. And I think as an IIT student, why don't you take this as a challenge? I'm sure you can come out with some kind of a solution. Yeah. Thank you. More question.
We have. Good, good.
So that shows there is no hunger still today.
Hello, sir. So at home, I'm working on this recycling of solar panels only. So my question is that the use of silicon after this recycling. See, if I extract this material grade, metal grade silicon, less purity, then it can be used for this alloying purpose. But if I can extract high grade also, but what is the use? Means apart from, I think, manufacturing ingots, using as a seed material, it can't be reused. Is there any other use? Because you told you could reuse it for manufacturing the solar panels. But
See, the silicon, once extracted, can be reused as a metal grade silicon. I'm not, see, don't take me that the same wafer can be used or the same cell. But the base material can be used. And they have successfully achieved in Germany this. The first recycled panel has already rolled out of a research institute from Fraunhofer. You can go through it. So it's possible. And there are a lot of papers which are presented about it that most of the primary metal can be reused in the same process, in the same industry. So we are talking of copper, we are talking of aluminium, though it differs, or the silicon or silver, they are possible to be extracted.
those can be extracted, but the silicon I'm asking. Well, if I extract very high, around 6N to 7N purity silicon is used.
That's what we are telling. It will be a metal grade silicon. So you'll have to go through the process of purification.
Okay.
Correct? It won't be the pure silicon of the same wafer. Right? But the base material, you won't need to have now doing further mining. You know, that same can act as a base material. Why not use it? You get me that? It's a metal after all. Hope I'm getting you through.
Ah,
Right?
I'm getting
So it will be used as a basic material. It's not going to be transformed back into pure silicon. You'll have to go through the process. The only thing is that you are fulfilling your requirement of your base components. That's the best part.
Okay, thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, would you have another question for Mr. Malaviya? Or should we call it a break for now? I'm sure everybody's feeling very famished as of now. He would be around. The questions can be taken offline. His details are right on the screen. You can please have them as well. So, a token from 7th edition of RenewX and informal markers for Mr. Malaviya.